So, check this out. Alex Eala just packed every single seat at the Khalifa International Stadium for a first-round Qatar Open match. Meanwhile, actual Grand Slam winners were playing to maybe half the crowd they expected. Tournament officials basically said, forget the world number ones, this 20-year-old Filipino is our headliner now. Picture this. 7,000 Filipino supporters turning what should have been a quiet Tuesday afternoon into something that felt more like a World Cup final, while the biggest names in tennis watched their matches get polite golf claps from scattered fans sitting in a sun-baked desert arena. Let me break down exactly what went down in Doha, because this situation goes way beyond just being surprising. This is legitimately something we've never seen in modern women's tennis. Alex Eala, sitting somewhere outside the top 100 rankings, steps onto the court for her opening match against Czech Republic's Teresa Valentova. Every single ticket, gone. Not just well-attended, not just a decent turnout, completely wiped out. People were hitting refresh on ticket websites the second the match schedule dropped. You had actual scalpers showing up for a first-round tennis match, which is basically unheard of. Security personnel had to call in extra help because the crowds mobbing the player entrance were getting too thick to handle safely. Now think about this for a second. The Qatar Open has welcomed absolute legends over the years. Serena Williams, Maria Sharapova, Justine Henin, Iga Swiatek. Typically, those early tournament rounds are pretty mellow affairs. You get some scattered clapping, plenty of empty seats, that polite country club vibe, while the top seeds shake off any rust. That's just how WTA 1000 events work normally. You save the big marketing push for primetime sessions with the marquee matchups, and cross your fingers that decent crowds show up. Those early rounds basically exist to help cover tournament costs, but nobody's buying tickets specifically for them. Except Alex Eala just torched that entire playbook. Tournament organizers looked at their draw sheet, saw multiple Grand Slam champions and top 10 players scattered throughout, and decided this 20-year-old from the Philippines was their biggest ticket seller. Really think about what that decision means. They're basically admitting that Eala can outdraw players who've won majors and held the #1 ranking in the world. And guess what? They nailed it completely. The stadium didn't just fill up nicely. It got transformed into what felt like a home court advantage. Filipino flags draped everywhere, chants bouncing off the walls, noise levels that you'd expect at major football matches. The atmosphere was suffocating if you were Valentova, and absolutely electric if you were Eala. Picture the intensity of Davis Cup or Billie Jean King Cup matches. Except this was supposed to be just another individual tournament match. The explanation for all this is actually pretty straightforward, though tennis officials seem to miss it constantly. Qatar's got this massive Filipino expatriate community. Hundreds of thousands of Filipino workers and families living there. For years, they've been waiting for someone to represent them on the global stage. They had Manny Pacquiao dominating boxing. Now they've got Alex Eala making waves in tennis. And they turned that Khalifa International complex into their personal fortress. When that match schedule got announced, the mobilization happened instantly and organically. Social media groups lit up, community chat threads went crazy, fan clubs activated like they were coordinating a military operation. Nobody paid for this kind of marketing campaign or promotional push. This was pure grassroots energy, from people who desperately wanted to support one of their own on an international stage. Now let's talk about what was happening in other parts of the venue at the exact same time. Reports came back that matches with top seeds in similar time slots were drawing maybe 30 to 40% capacity at best. Aryna Sabalenka, who's won Grand Slams and held the world #1 ranking, played her match in front of a half-empty stadium. Iga Swiatek's early round matches had plenty of seats available for anyone who wanted them. These are supposed to be the biggest draws at any tournament, theoretically speaking. But they couldn't create even a fraction of the atmosphere that Eala generated without breaking a sweat. If you're one of those top players, that's gotta sting pretty badly. You've got major championships on your resume. You've been ranked #1 globally. You've spent years dominating the tour. Then this 20-year-old from the Philippines, who hasn't won a WTA title yet, manages to sell out a stadium while you're playing to empty seats. The jealousy has to be real. And honestly, it's completely understandable. What Eala proved in Doha is that star power in tennis goes way beyond rankings or career accomplishments. It's all about connecting with an audience. It's about representing something much bigger than individual success. Those Filipino fans weren't just cheering for a talented tennis player. They were celebrating representation. They were witnessing Filipino excellence on a stage that's been dominated by Europeans and Americans historically. The actual tennis match became tactically fascinating because Eala had to handle the pressure of 7,000 people screaming her name on every single point. That crowd support is definitely an advantage, but it also creates crushing expectations. You walk onto the court expecting maybe some polite applause. Instead, you get hit with this wall of pure noise. The natural tendency is to overhit every ball, to go for winner after winner just to hear that roar get louder. Problem is, tennis rewards patience and consistency, not spectacular hero shots on every point. Valiantova isn't some pushover opponent either. She's a powerful Czech player with a big serve and heavy ground strokes that can hurt you. Plus, she'd actually beaten Eala before in their previous meeting. The head-to-head record was 1-0 in Valentova's favor coming into this match. So Eala wasn't just battling the opponent across the net from her, she was fighting the mental ghost of that previous loss and this weird statistical pattern where she'd struggled specifically against Czech players in the past. But something's changed in Eala's mental approach over the past couple years. 2 years ago, she probably would have crumbled under those expectations. Instead, she found a way to channel all that energy positively. She relied on those defensive skills and that lefty forehand hook she developed training at the Rafael Nadal Academy to stay alive in points that looked hopeless. She kept extending rallies, forcing Valiantova to hit one more shot until the Czech player finally cracked under the pressure. There was this one point in the second set that immediately went viral across social media. Eala got pulled way wide to her backhand side, almost into the doubles alley territory. She sprinted across the court, slid on that hard court surface, and somehow flicked this passing shot down the line that caught the corner perfectly. The roar from the crowd was so loud that it actually registered on local seismographs. That's not me being dramatic for effect. The noise was legitimately deafening. Those courts in Doha are medium-slow hard courts, with grit that grabs spin really well. This surface actually favored Eala's playing style perfectly. Her heavy topspin forehand bites into the court and kicks up high, making life miserable for taller, flatter hitters like Valiantova, who need rhythm to establish their power. Eala used that high bounce to push Valiantova well behind the baseline, which completely neutralized the Czech player's power advantage. After the match finished, Eala grabbed the microphone and started speaking to the crowd in Tagalog. The place absolutely erupted. She thanked them for making her feel at home thousands of miles away from the Philippines. She acknowledged the sacrifices that overseas workers made, spending their hard-earned money on tickets to support her. That connection, that emotional bond between athlete and fan base, that's what transforms sport from entertainment into something deeper. Muhammad Ali had it. Pacquiao had it. Now Eala's got it too. Meanwhile, Aryna Sabalenka's probably back in her hotel room, wondering how she became a complete afterthought at a tournament where she's legitimately one of the championship favorites. She's won multiple Grand Slams. She's held the world #1 ranking. By every traditional measure, she should be the main attraction here. Instead, tournament organizers put all their promotional muscle behind a player who's never even won a WTA title yet. That's not me criticizing the organizers, by the way. They made the smart business decision. Eala puts people in seats. Sabalenka doesn't, at least not in Qatar with this demographic. The reality is that the Filipino community shows up in massive numbers to support their athletes. Other communities either don't show up with the same intensity, or they don't show up at all. This whole situation exposes a major flaw in how the WTA markets its biggest stars. The tour has always relied on traditional metrics like world rankings and Grand Slam titles to decide who gets featured in promotional campaigns. But those metrics completely miss cultural connection and demographic support. Eala might be ranked way lower than Sabalenka right now, but in Qatar, she's infinitely more valuable from a pure business standpoint. The economic implications here are massive. Tournament directors across the entire tour are looking at this data and realizing they've been scheduling matches completely wrong for years. They've been automatically putting top seeds in prime-time slots, assuming that's what drives ticket sales and attendance. But what if the player with the most passionate fan base should get those premium slots, regardless of their current ranking? This also shows the untapped potential sitting in the Asian market, specifically Southeast Asia. The WTA has spent years trying to crack the Chinese market with mixed results at best, but the Philippines represents something different. This is a market driven by pure, authentic passion. Eala is the catalyst they've been waiting for. If she keeps this trajectory going, we could see more WTA events scheduled in Southeast Asia, or at minimum, recognition that she's become a primary marketing asset on a global scale. For tennis fans watching this from other parts of the world, this might look like a novelty or just a one-time thing. But it's actually revealing a major shift happening in tennis demographics. This sport has been dominated by European and American stars for decades. The infrastructure, media coverage, sponsorship money, it all flows toward those traditional markets. But populations like the Philippines have these massive tennis fan bases that have been completely ignored because they didn't have a champion to rally behind. Now they do. And they're proving they can generate atmospheres and ticket sales that rival anything you'll see in Europe or America. That should genuinely terrify established stars who've gotten comfortable assuming they're irreplaceable. Because Eala just demonstrated that connection with fans matters way more than career accomplishments when it comes to filling stadiums. The pressure on Eala moving forward is going to be absolutely insane. Tournament organizers are scrambling to figure out scheduling because they can't stick her on side courts or bury her in early morning sessions anymore. She's become the primetime event, no matter who she's playing against. That's the definition of true star power. When you start dictating the tournament schedule instead of the schedule dictating you, but there's real danger lurking here too. The emotional expenditure from a match like this is completely draining. Young players often win these massive emotional battles in front of home-like crowds, then come out totally flat for their next match. That adrenaline hangover is very real. Eala's team has to help her get proper sleep, recover physically, and refocus mentally on the next opponent. You don't win tournaments in the first round, no matter how loud the crowd was cheering. The contrast between those images of empty seats at other matches compared to the sold-out Eala session is going to define this entire tournament. It doesn't matter who actually lifts the trophy when everything's finished. The story of Qatar Open 2026 will always be about Alex Eala. She injected life, energy, and color into what was shaping up to be just another forgettable early-season tournament that nobody would remember. Sabalenka and the other top seeds have to process this new reality. They're better players right now, objectively. They have superior results and more impressive accomplishments on their resumes, but they can't generate the atmosphere that Eala creates just by walking onto the court. That's a psychological blow that's really hard to overcome. It forces them to confront this uncomfortable truth that being the best player doesn't automatically make you the most important player. Those Filipino fans demonstrated something that tennis authorities desperately need to understand. Passionate, engaged fan bases are the absolute lifeblood of professional sports. You can have the most talented players in the world, but if nobody cares enough to show up and create an electric atmosphere, the sport suffers badly. Eala has this built-in fan base that follows her everywhere she goes. There are Filipino communities basically everywhere in the world. That's a competitive advantage that you can't replicate through better training or improved shot making. It's cultural and demographic, and it's making players like Sabalenka, who've dominated through pure tennis excellence, realize that star power in the modern era requires much more than just winning matches. Alex Eala just packed an entire stadium for a first-round match, while Grand Slam champions dealt with empty seats. Qatar Open organizers picked her as their main attraction over world number ones, and that decision paid off with unprecedented atmosphere and record ticket sales. Star power isn't about rankings anymore. It's all about connection, and Eala's got it in spades.